So pads officially go on today. So now we get to start hitting people. But you were there this weekend before the pads went on. Give me the first impressions. Give me Ben's football eyeballs on the team for the first time in camp. What are you seeing?
I'm going to kind of echo a lot of the same things that some other people noticed as well, that we're getting a lot of defensive rookies to get a lot of snaps with our number ones. And that's super exciting. Um, Brian Flores typically doesn't, especially this early in camp, he doesn't give a lot of rookies a lot of snaps. You go back to his 3 years with Miami, his 3 full seasons with us. Maybe you can count Mekhi Blackman as a starter, but that was more in nickel packages. Outside of that, in his time with the Vikings, has never started a rookie ever. You look at his time in Miami those 3 years, only 2 guys, Christian Wilkins and Noah Igbenogany. That's it. Now he's got some guys in the 2 deep, but to look at this iteration of the Vikings defense in the practices before we even put pads on, and there are 5 rookies getting runs with the ones, it's super optimistic. Now, I don't think that all of them are going to start.
So the 5 are Banks got run, Big
Yep.
Citrus, Golday. Who
We
else is
have Charles
getting?
Demings. We talked about him on this channel, a couple episodes ago.
People came at us hard. I'm telling you, this kid, dude, he had this quote on the Vikings Instagram about like some guys pray for an easier path. I'm gonna butcher it. Let's just play it.
A fool prays for an easier road. Wise man pray for stronger legs.
And, dude, love people came at us about that. I'm telling you, this kid has a chance.
I know. I think he's got the right demeanor. And again, before we put the pads on, everybody I think can feel themselves a little bit before. But as we talked about earlier, I think wide receivers and cornerbacks, you're getting the truest looks of how these guys are, even with no pads on. So I don't think it'll be.
But yeah, so Banks, so him, Demings, and
And then
then
Jacoby
the
Thomas.
safety kid, Jacoby Thomas. But I heard that, like, I heard Golday, especially with the way they were able to move him
Mm-hmm.
out to the edge. He was able to play both positions, which we were kind of worried about. The fact that he's just getting reps there and some of his responses to questions about how he's studied the positions, I heard especially he and Banks looked like monsters out on the field on Saturday.
Well, I think there's a lot of natural instincts that are taking over, which I think is really surprising, being so young and being so early in camp. And I think that's a really impressive thing to hear come out of Golday. When he got here, they basically challenged him. They said, "We want you to be the jack of all trades when it comes to linebackers. We're going to give you a lot. And we're going to ask you to learn the inside linebacker positions. We're going to also ask you to learn the outside linebacker positions." And the fact that he's already in 3 days of camp, already getting run with the ones and making plays out there. I mean, who knows what that means? The problem is now if he continues to develop, well, he's certainly not going to start, is he? I mean, he's not going to start over Eric Wilson, Blake Cashman, I don't think. And he's certainly not going to start on the outside. But it is interesting and very curious as to why they're giving those guys so much love. I mean, maybe it's just a chance for them to learn and give the vets some time off and kind of take care of their bodies a little bit. But man, the fact that he is out there running free and not thinking too much and not hesitating, I mean, I think his potential has just ratcheted up even more.
It's also, when you think about, I think Kwesi drafted, I think, 28 guys. And I think I read somewhere, maybe Alec Lewis had this, like 4 of them became starters of any variety. One of those was a kicker. We love the kicker, but I'm just saying it's not he's not starting on offense or deep. So three primary starters out of 28. How sick would it be if Brzezinski, and I know he would really relied on scouting, really relied on the coaches, but that's the GM's job.
Yeah.
How sick would it be in the transition if Rob B just came and went, "Cool, here's a few starters," because anybody who's been watching this channel from the start or listening to the show from the start, what I've said over and over and over, and long before this show, is it takes one draft.
Yeah.
It takes one draft to reverse your fortunes. You need to then build on that and be consistent. But if you hit one draft where your first round pick is an all-pro caliber guy and you get one or two other high-level starters, man, we are running the other direction in a hurry.
In a hurry, and especially when, you know, there are some concerns with all of the contracts and what the salary cap's going to look like. I mean, we're not exactly flush with money. And if you project out that, man, we can even maybe let some veterans go next year based on how well these rookies play, and then all of a sudden now we have a little bit of more spending money, and then you can start using that free agency money a little more strategic versus like, shoot, man, like we just need bodies. We got to get people in here because we're not getting anything from these cheap rookies. So things are looking very good right now. Very good.
Now, the rebuttal to that is, you know, it's the great major league quote, like, yeah, off a guy who will be bagging groceries in a week or two. You know, it's camp, right? Nothing matters till the bullets fly. But it's fun to be excited because they drafted a bunch of athletes. It's fun to see that athleticism translate and earn some of these guys first team reps, like you said, for a guy who doesn't normally get them. Let's go to the other conversation, the one that everybody's talking about. It sounds like Kyler had a really good day when you were out there.
So the thing that I noticed about Kyler, yes, a lot of people have put out the statistics of how he looked versus JJ McCarthy, you know, how many team reps they got and all that stuff. I mean, which is all things that I think the public needs to know. The thing that I noticed though, outside of the stats, was how much in command he looked. Okay. He looked like he belonged on the field with the ones, and he belonged in that huddle. The thing that I thought was really impressive too, there was a number of things. I thought the explosiveness of the passing game with him at quarterback. You know, we talked in the last episode how basically 2/3 of his passes are 5 yards or below, not necessarily checkdowns, but just kind of built within the offense. You saw a lot more in just that one practice of him getting to the second level with some throws. Him trying to stretch the ball down the field to make it look like what we think the KOC offense looks like. And it didn't look unnatural. It didn't look like he had to like heave the ball in those particular spots. The other thing that I thought was really encouraging, and I thought the difference between he and McCarthy, when they took snaps from under center, how quickly Kyler was able to get to the top of his drop and get that back foot planted. And we might be talking by about a half a step, but that half a step and that breath of a moment that you get as a quarterback to plant your back foot and give yourself a little extra read about where you need to go. I just thought he looked really crisp. You know, it looked like he knew exactly where to go in the drop. He got there with intention, and then he was able to plant that back foot, be able to assess the defense and deliver the football. It's not to say that McCarthy didn't do that. It just looked like because of that extra foot quickness that Kyler has, you could really see it sort of develop. And I think that's really encouraging when we talk about the number of play actions that this offense has, the number of times that you're going to be out there, giving a stretch play, having to turn your back to the defense, get to the top of your drop, and then even just flat out just taking a 5-step drop. Like it commands a lot of physicality out of you. And the fact that he was able to repeat that over and over and over again with precision, man, I thought that was really encouraging.
When you add into that what Adam Thielen said, when he was on The Fan, when he was on NFL, you know, he started talking about JJ McCarthy. I think it's a good reminder that for me personally, I have different, like, I'm looking to see who the starter is, who's going to win the starting job like everybody else. But I kind of have different like growth, like what I want to see from each guy. And because McCarthy has looked good as well in moments, But what Thielen said about, and it basically kind of echoed some of that KOC stuff in a more like I was this guy's teammate sort of way, which is we need to see the pro stuff. We
Mm-hmm.
need to see like how do you handle these moments emotionally from a maturity standpoint. And I think lost in the early conversation about how much it factor JJ has, which he has. Like
Mm-hmm.
his teammates love him, the building loves him, like he has an it factor. I think so many of us assumed that the it factor was just inherently able to produce a maturity factor. And I'm not calling him an immature guy. I'm saying what Thielen said was like what you're looking for in him in camp is how does he react to moments? How does he react to opportunities? How does he react to lack of opportunities? How does he react to the media? How does he handle being a big time football player with the weight of an organization on his shoulders? And that's a long journey. That is not
Yeah.
like Kyler could win the job, JJ could be the future. JJ could get traded, Kyler could get cut. Like we have no idea what's going to happen. But JJ's journey is a long journey. And so I think it's easy to assess all the things Kyler is doing right now and be excited about him. It's a little harder to know how JJ is progressing because from what Thielen said, it seems like the thing he needs to progress on aren't and one of the things Thielen mentioned was the layered throws and some of the
Mm-hmm.
ability to not just have a one speed pitch. So there was a football aspect as well. But it seems like he needs to, adjust to those other things, which aren't as easy to tell in social media clips and from a day at camp. Uh, the other thing I will say, so
Hmm.
these were my two thoughts in going back and forth with you and seeing everything I've seen. Everybody is really worried about, and justifiably so, the fit, right? That's the number one thing we've seen since Kyler came on board.
Mm-hmm.
This is what KOC does, this is what Kyler does. And I think some people have mentioned it, but I think we are underrating the ground game potential of Kyler. I went back and I looked at KOC's college stats as a quarterback. He ran the ball.
Really? Oh, who ran the ball behind him?
No, but he ran the ball.
He ran the ball.
So
He was
his
a
senior
running
year, he
quarterback?
ran the ball more than 10 times a game. He scored
Huh.
11 touchdowns in 12 games as a senior. He ran the ball over 419 times in like 33 games. KOC could move a little bit. It's like 30 yards a game, half a touchdown, a little over half a touchdown a game. I know he loves to like I think there's a chance. I'm putting on the maybe board. I'm gonna put on the maybe board for everybody to yell at me later. There's a chance that we're all worrying about Kyler's too short. Can he throw it across the middle? This is what KOC likes. That KOC has been sitting there going, man, if I get this guy in space and people have to respect that and add that to this new running game, that's a different thing than I've ever had. Because I have to imagine when you saw him in person, the speed up close of Kyler Murray is something different.
It is, but I'm not going to get as excited as you are
Listen to
about
me.
that.
Am I looking at a coach's college run? I think the fit
You
thing,
really went there.
well, listen to me. The fit thing, I don't think there's a middle ground on the fit thing. I either think people are right and you're hurtling towards a disaster, or they're wrong and it's like the fit can make a lot of sense. They just don't have the ability to interpret football language and what they're seeing. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaning towards I'm not worried about the fit until I see something that makes me worry about it.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm
Well,
trying to justify that. I
the
think he's
fit
going to run a lot.
is the fit is I think is a relevant topic because we have a new run game coordinator in Frank Smith. Um, we feel like systematically, even if we go back to just last year and we just had JJ and Wentz and whatever, right? Even just implementing a new run game, I think is worthy of talking about it. And okay, well, how does Frank Smith's scheme work with KOC's scheme, and how does it complement the play action, all that stuff? All of that is very true, and I think that's the reason why we keep talking and bringing it up. But then you factor in what Kyler can potentially do along with all that, and I think that's why it is so very intriguing. Like are we going to be 50-50 now under center or shotgun? Can you run a lot of Frank Smith stuff from shotgun? How does that look? Is he used to that? I mean, he certainly did that in Miami, but how does that marry with what Kyler's going to do? We also have to factor in Kyler's injury history. Do you really want to put him out there and have him running quite a bit? I just look at Kyler and his ability to run more as an extension of plays and then red zone. When we get in the red zone, I do think that we will see some actual true quarterback run game where
Of
it
course we
is.
will. Kevin
And I think,
O'Connell ran
yeah,
for
I think
11 touchdowns as a senior at San Diego State in 12 games.
Do you think the Packers right now are looking back at San Diego State film and saying
Game
like,
film?
"Hey, man, you know what he's going to do? This is the genius of KOC. He's going to go back to his old college tape and he's going to pull out some run game that he did in the red zone, and he's going to do that with Kyler. So we got to be ready."
I just don't think he's opposed to it. I think people think he wants to run his offense this exact way. It has to look exactly like this. And there's been some evidence of that. Like, he is a very particular guy, and when it works, Kirk has his best year, Darnold has an amazing year. So I think there's some I think that's true, and there's been some validation to it. I just don't think he's as rigid as people think. And I think an example of that is, he has run the ball. Like, he's not sitting around going, I got Kyler Murray, I can't get him on the outside and move him around. Maybe that'll happen, but I doubt it.
No, I agree with you. I think that we see what his offense looks like, his passing offense looks like when we have a capable quarterback in Kirk and Sam. So I think that we are all thinking that it has to fit in this cookie cutter KOC sort of way. Like, the only way he knows how to bake and the only recipe that he knows is just what we saw with those two quarterbacks. And I agree with you that I think that he's flexible. I think he's amendable. I think that he will play to players' strengths. And given that Kyler can run a little bit more, I think we are going to see more of that. And maybe in the back of his mind, if they keep seeing this progression from JJ, maybe they won't be so concerned about Kyler getting hurt. And they'll just be like, look, we got a guy on a 1-year rental. He needs to prove himself to the league that he can do a lot of things. So we'll throw the ball a little bit more than he's used to, different types of scheme, but we're also going to use him and do what he does best, and that is use his legs when needed. So maybe they will throw caution to the wind too and say, all right, well, if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. If that's just the way it goes because we're running a new style of offense, then we've got McCarthy as a backup, and we're just going to see if he can take over this franchise if Kyler gets injured. So you kind of have the best of both worlds.
So to summarize your first day at camp, we both think we hit a jackpot on the draft before guys' pads go on. You think Kyler's crisp. I think KOC has a secret plan based on his college performance to run the ball more. And we're pretty much putting our team in the Super Bowl. Enjoy the comments, everybody. This has been a very rosy episode.